This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and up. You believe in how to achieve all your dreams. Keep moving forward. Never accept less than who you are. Live your best life. Be strong and free. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
The Hit Back with Nahaja Black is sponsored by Scotiabank, CG Atlantic, Baja Retreat and Spa, Atlantis Paradise Island, and JS Johnson.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
Good afternoon, Bahamas, and welcome to the Hit Back. I'm your host, Nahaja Black. It is a beautiful day here in the 242. I hope that you are doing well, taking care of yourself, and living your best life today. We got a good show for you today, filled with, I think, some poignant, some meaty stuff. Of course, this was the first sitting of the new administration, the new Davis administration. There were some very, I would say, weighty bits of information. I don't know if we call it meaty. You'll determine if it was filled with meat, if it was something that you enjoyed to hear. There was some important things there. They talked about VAT. They talked about $1 billion. Listen, there's a lot. We're going to get into it. But before we do, I have this little affinity. I have a strong affinity for this grouping that I'm going to bring on. They'll be on for a brief time, but we will definitely, I'm sure, have a longer conversation because the community for which they represent, I just wanted to introduce them to you. They're a new community. When you say new community, when people hear communities now, they think in social justice or some social weird stuff. But this is a new community in the Bahamas representing, I think, will be a trend-setting group. Right? Someone says to checking in on time. Yeah, you're checking in on time. So I'm excited about this group because I got a little bias, right? I got a little bias because I remember sitting up watching my husband having to take this courses and get certified. And then all of a sudden he joins this community and it's a brilliant community. And I want to introduce you to it because this will be a pivotal group. Watch this group as we really start talking about building a new country economically. I want to bring on from the Bahamas project management community, its founder, Andrea Pratt-Smith, Mr. Omar Gonzalez, who is also one of the founding members, Monique Caesar, a founding member, and I know that they have a giant team as well. I want to welcome you all to the show. Welcome to the Hit Back, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Listen, it's a pleasure to have you all on. I know, listen, we have a short time because, of course, today being the day that it is, so we're just going to be hitting on the topic a bit, just giving people a slight introduction on this community called the Project Managers Community, the Bahamas Project Management Community. Andrea, tell us a bit about it. What is project management and why do we need a community?
Okay, well, first of all, I would like to say that this community got started from a mandate that I feel like God impressed upon my heart to do something for my country. Being a member of the South Florida Agile Association, the Scrum Alliance, and the Agile Alliance, and so many other international project management and agile communities, I felt it was imperative for us to have something in the Bahamas that we can call our own. And we can actually encourage and empower fellow project managers and even those who are interested in joining the profession. They can benefit from being a part of this community. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's not about me. This is actually a mandate that God gave me to form this community, and it has been going very well thus far.
Yeah. And, one of the great things, because I promise you, to everyone who's tuning in, I want y'all to be aware of this community as it is. And of course, we will be talking about the Prime Minister's speech, the 500 lump sum, everybody asking questions. People in here money, not anyone into us, and project management. We'll talk about this later. So Andrea, I want to ask you, what do project managers do? And what is the community doing in and of itself?
Well, project managers does do a lot of things. I said that everyone is a project manager because a project by definition is anything that has a definite start and end and produces a unique product, service, or result. So your show is a project, Nahaja. Writing a book is a project. Studying for an exam is a project. Going to school is a project. And I like to say that life in itself is a project. You have a definite start when you're born, and you have a definite date when it ends, when you pass away. So if we approach everything in life as a project, then everyone is a project manager, and everyone can benefit from having project management skill sets, and not just those who have the certifications, but everybody can benefit. And so what this community provides is an opportunity for persons who are continuous learners like myself and everybody on my team. We are continuous learners. And so we provide opportunities where you can upskill, you can earn certifications, you can get mentorship, you can get training. So we're trying to provide a whole gamut of opportunities just for persons who want to become the better version of themselves. So that's everybody, in my opinion.
Monique, tell me a bit of why you joined the community.
Well, Nahaja, I've really been interested in project management for quite some time and always placed it in the back burner. But right now with COVID, everything's quiet. I think it's the best opportunity to take advantage of this group and to study, to take the exam. I, unlike most of the other persons, uncertified at this time. And when I first saw Andrea, I think it was on a television ad or on the news, yes. I was really driven or drawn to give her a call. And once calling her, she told me what she wanted to do. I said, I had to take part in this organization. And being the person that I am, I'm not going to sit back. As I actually pursue this certificate, I thought, hey, why not be a part? It's in its infancy stage. Why not give my expertise and be a helping hand? I think project management is where it needs to be. Being in IT, I know that it's essential. Everything is moving now to the World Wide Web. And everything is becoming automated. And guess who's going to be needed to automate those processes? IT professionals, project managers, marketing persons, and things of the sort. So that was my motivation.
And Omar, I see you. Omar, you look like you're sitting in a gamer's chair, Omar. I won't lie to you. You look like you're in a gamer's chair. And for some reason, I like that. And mind you, I know that gaming for me is an addiction, so I can't do it. But Omar, tell me a bit about why you're a part of project management.
Well, in my case, I've been in IT ever since I started my professional career. Now, I did meet Andrea in another community of practice of which we belong to, and I heard about her forming this community. So why did I come here? To help Andrea out. I have never formed a community, and I felt some affinity towards Andrea and wanted to help her in her journey and help the Bahamas also reach Agile. Being in Puerto Rico, we already have an established Agile community. So building this new one is not only a learning experience, but also willing to help Andrea as far as I can.
All right. Well, okay, Andrea, tell us, you have an event coming up where folks can join if they're interested in project management, if they need help in getting certified. Tell folks how they can reach you. And so that they can, say, okay, listen, I need support, because project management exams, these certifications aren't easy. So let folks know how they can reach out to you, Andrea.
Okay, so right now we have a Facebook page that is established. You just have to search for Bahamas Project Management Community, BPMC. We have a Facebook page. We have a Facebook group. We also are on meetup.com. Search Bahamas Project Management Community. And our upcoming meetup is this Thursday, actually featuring Dr. Rodney Smith, who is going to be joining us and speaking about education in the 21st century. And that's something that we're very much looking forward to. Monique could share more about it if she wants to.
We gotta go. So just tell folks the time that they can reach out to you guys.
Yes.
And what time the event?
Our meetup starts at 6:00 p.m. on Thursday, which will be tomorrow, the 28th of October, 6:00 p.m. Join us, join our meetup groups, join our Facebook groups, check out our Facebook page. We're going to be doing some exciting stuff coming up in the near future. If you're looking to become certified as a CAPM or a PMP, we're in discussions of forming a study group. And this is all for free, capital awesome. FREE. So we're a free community. So please join us.
No, that's awesome. Free study group. Trust me, people need it. All right. Thank you so much, Andrea, Monique, Omar, all the way from Guatemala. You said Omar? Did you say Guatemala? Puerto Rico. That's what you said. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I got it.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you all. All right, you're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Special thanks to the group, Project Management Group. I want you all, if that it's a real thing. When I say it's a real thing, it's a really lucrative opportunity there, you know? And I want to tell you all, if there's some things you want to study and get certified in, that's your thing. I would really suggest and recommend it. Project management. If you heard the speech today, even Dr. Darwell talked about creating this project management consortium. And I think you have to understand the value of it as an expertise, something else that you can be certified in. There are various industries by which project management and project managers are used, and they are making a good bit of income there. Anyways, we've got a big show for you today. The first sitting of the House of Assembly under the new day government, under the Philip Brave Davis administration. We had some things in the House of Assembly today. Woo! CA, focus. You're on the air. It's good to have you, buddy. I tend to like to sneak up on you.
I see that. That time I texted and all kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, once you wasn't, messing with your nose, it's all right.
I'm sure I was doing that too. I'm sure I'm doing that too.
Good to have you on the show today, buddy. Welcome.
It's always good.
Well, today, C.A. Nuri was the first sitting of the House of Assembly, and trust me, I've been trying to get every minister known to us on the show today. Apparently, I don't have that kind of that kind of pull. I'm not that person anymore. I don't know. So we'll work on it and hopefully get someone on the show at some point or the other. Anyways, today was the first sitting of the House of Assembly, and buddy, I tell you, the Prime Minister had some pronouncements and announcements, eh? So first thing out of the gate, C.A. Nuri, my good friend, I want to know overall thoughts before we get into the nuts and bolts. Overall, the first three speakers, well, there were four, but I say that Chester Cooper's, the DPM's was brief. It was just to solidify a concern. So I would say the first three being the Prime Minister himself, Philip Davis. Then we had Dr. Darwell. And then we had Glenys Hannah Martin, Minister of Education. And then we paused. We had a recess. I would say those were three heavy hitters. Of course, the DPM had a brief speaking. Your thoughts all the way. Your thoughts.
Well, definitely I enjoyed the contribution of today. There were 4 heavy hitters today, and it shows what exactly is important to the overall government for the next couple of months. So that was good to see that these particular ministries had something important to contribute and get the culture and the focus of the whole country concentrating on those particular things. The Prime Minister's contribution I enjoyed. It showed an overarching theme of what to expect, the discounts or bonuses or taxes.
Discount?
I use all those words purposely, by the way. Was interesting to listen to. It also showed a theme about what to expect for the next month, right? The Prime Minister threw some shade, right? I enjoyed the shade too, by the way. I enjoyed
there's some shade now.
Yeah, there was some shade. So
was it a dilly tree shade?
I expect for the upcoming contributions to continue with that theme, that continue of that culture of shade until we get settled in, right? I see the FNM respond quickly, which was good because there've been delays for a while in terms of their response. I see that Kwesi Thompson was out of the
oh, you see that, eh? Did you see? Ooh,
yeah, I enjoyed that too. The idea that he's seeking to be leader of the FNM and then he had to speak. I smiled and said, "Go, Kwesi. I see you." And he did 1 or 2 rebuttals, which I appreciated. And this is where media comes in, and media analyze and hash the things out and do a compare and contrast, a juxtaposition of the 2 contributions, and to see what is the truth and represent what we, the people, want. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about future debates and moving forward, especially concentrating on those particular subjects that was already mentioned in the House.
Listen, we got to take a break. When we come back, let's come back full force because, of course, the Prime Minister's contribution was something else. And you would expect it. Every prime minister's contribution. We said this before on Monday that we anticipated, that there would be some revelations, right?
Yes.
After one particular revelation, I had to make a call, and I said, "How is this even possible?" I'll tell everyone about it because it was something else that the prime minister shared with us. So we'll be back after this. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We'll be back right after this.
Sugar, sugar, let's get sugary. Softer, smoother, and amazing skin. Oh, sugar, sugar, we're the sugar ladies. Giving you skin soft as a baby's. Goodbye, hair, we'll take good care of you.
Come visit us at Bahar Retreat Spa on East Bay Street. Contact us at 323-6711 or visit us online at www.baharetreat.com.
We are working to protect our country, our people, and our livelihoods so that we can move forward. The vaccine is safe. The vaccine is easy. The vaccine is essential for our recovery. If we want to rebuild our economy, if we want to get back to our jobs, if we want to get back to our lives, our families, we must do this together.
Here we go. J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents are the best. Reliable service, we've been on the scene, protecting since 1919. J.S. Johnson Insurance has the test. You're always covered me. J.S. Johnson Insurance, peace of mind.
You have a new text message from Scotia.
Scotiabank is adding text messaging to its communication channels to keep customers updated in quicker and safer ways. As of November 4th, Scotiabank will be using text messaging to provide notifications on the minimum payment required for your credit card and due dates. Customers may continue to access their credit card statements on Scotia Online or through our mobile banking app. Learn more by contacting customer care-Bahamas at scotiabank.com or call 356-1697.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. My good friend C.A. Nuri tried to sneak up on him just now again, but he caught himself. C.A., the first sitting, the official sitting of the new government, the new day government, the new administration, and a few times in the Prime Minister's speech, when he talked about VAT, he said, "Indeed, it is a new day." This speech was something else. I kind of enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. All right, let's go to it. You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's go with the first thing. All right. First thing. This was interesting to me. Starting out of the gate, CA, the Prime Minister starts with this, the numbers provided, and I thought this was spectacular. Honestly, I thought this was spectacular. The numbers provided by the Ministry of Finance for the period ending the 30th of September 2021 revealed a $1 billion difference from the numbers provided by the previous government in their pre-election report that Rasta King God. Say what now?
And initially hearing that, I was concerned, but yeah. I'm thinking that is more of an accountancy type issue. When you put things in the assets and debt and credits and whatever it is.
Your debit, your credits, that's what you're thinking it is?
Yeah, but I believe that it is the same, it's the same numbers. But I'll wait to see. There are accountants. And this is where your friend Johnson, Marlon Johnson, need to come and explain where that $1 billion come from.
Because I did call my friend. I said, Marlon, what in the Hades is this? How is that even possible? That one could be underreporting. And then let's continue. Let me read clearly what it says. And I want to repeat that to be sure everyone hears this. This is what the Prime Minister says today. There is a $1 billion difference between the numbers provided by the previous government prior to the election and the truth. See, that's the first shade, a little bit of shade there, okay? It is painfully clear that the pre-election report was an incomplete presentation to the government of the government's contingent and real liabilities. All right, break that down. What they're saying is the government said X, and what really their issues or liabilities were Z, right? So, okay, listen, man, okay, we underwater by about, 750 million. Then the new government comes in. Hold on. That's 1,750 million y'all under. For example, this is how he keeps going. This is how the Prime Minister keeps going to sort of say, okay, I have evidence of such. Yeah, this is proof. For example, it excluded over $100 million of contracts executed by the Ministry of Works for which no funding has been provided in the budget. Okay, well, $100 million. They're still shy of that. You're still shy of 900 million. That's $1 billion is a big number to miss. It omits underfunding of pension and gratuity payments for public officers, which is now being addressed in the supplementary budget. Now, that one I can tell you, CA, before the election, some in, as staff saying, okay, they were being told, okay, we will put as a line item, right, an increase of a lump sum on your pay, but it wouldn't show up as actually when I get the full writing of it, because there was something, and I think you lost me for a second there. So there were some things that were trying to be done that kind of had some, little questionable areas there. So that it omits underfunding of the pension and gratuity payments for public officers, which is now being addressed in the supplementary budget. He goes on to say the pre-election report omitted a loan assumed by the government for which the only source of payment is BPL. It excludes amounts owing for taxes for a star witness in a criminal case. Well, now that taxes can't be a lot, right? You don't think that tax could be close to 100. So I thought that one was just there to show a little shade in there a little bit. The very unusual arrangement is supported by a promissory note signed by a senior official of the Ministry of Finance. I wonder who they're trying to talk about. Who do you think you're talking about, Cecil? Who do you think they're talking about?
Your friend.
They ain't talking about my friend, not my good friend Marlon. No. It excludes court judgments made against the government for which funding now has to be provided in the supplemental budget. It makes no mention of potential liabilities emanating from contract breaches committed by the former administration. He says, once I have the final report, it will be presented to the House, but suffice to say, not all of these obligations can be accommodated within the existing framework. The important thing is that many of these entities are satisfied that our government, firstly, acknowledges that funds are owed, and secondly, is committing to resolving these matters in an amicable manner. Okay. $1 billion. I didn't hear $1 billion worth of losses there, but
no.
So
let's talk about that, Nahaja.
Let's see. Go ahead.
I'm assuming that these are unexplained, unanticipated expenses. Is that right? That's what I'm supposed to interpret?
Unexplained expense. No, you mean
not included. These are extra.
Not included. Yes, that's what we're saying. That the budget.
So one would assume that these would be monies that we may have to borrow.
Well, if you have to borrow, if you don't have it.
And I know the financial secretary said there's no need to borrow because there's no extra unexplained money. So I'm confused with things like that. If there's no need to borrow, but there is a 1 billion. See, we got to use the big word. If there's 1 billion extra.
Who said no need to borrow?
Remember they're saying that things are not as bad as it was interpreted.
Who's they? Sorry, just to make sure I'm with you. Who's they?
This is Wilson and
Simon Wilson. Yeah, okay.
So see, I'm going by that, right? If things is not as bad as they said, gloom and doom, where we had to borrow so much money or we in deficit, that we have wiggle room, right? That there's no need to borrow extra money, right? I'm saying, when you call in the word billion, this is not like a $5 million, $20 million we're talking about. We're talking about $1 billion. One would assume one would assume that in the short term, we would need to borrow money in order to pay or to address some of these things. And I'm just unsure. Like I said, I'm not a financial guru, and this is not my portfolio. So, but just listening to it, I would assume that we would need to be borrowing $1 billion soon.
Well, I mean,
or we don't plan to pay all that off, or we just.
I'm trying to figure out. Well, see, what I guess what you're saying is, okay, let me just make sure I understand that. Okay. Hey, if you're short $1 billion, then you need to borrow $1 billion.
Yes,
that's okay to make up for what you don't have. Now, I still don't see where $1 billion is in this. I actually called the former acting financial secretary, and I said, "How is this even possible?" And his thing is, I don't know. His thing was, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how that is possible as well. Said he was calling to find out, like how is this even possible? I think that's
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's a reasonable answer. You can imagine if you woke up, you could imagine if you missed 9 zeros. That's some serious.
But zero has no value, right?
Say again?
Zero has no value.
Well, when you put a 1 in front of it, that's yeah, contingencies may or may not happen, but $1 billion, is this a case for more borrowing? It only could be a case for more borrowing, but when we get into the speech, I didn't hear more borrowing, right? I didn't hear that in the speech. So we'll continue on. But I thought that was quite interesting. $1 billion that the Prime Minister is saying, and I'll read it again. It says, it is, and I thought it was fast. The numbers provided by the Ministry of Finance for the period ending the 30th of September 2021 reveal $1 billion difference from the numbers provided by the previous government in their pre-election report. Now, listen, that's what matters. It was the pre-election report, not the budget, right? But the pre-election report, so it tells you the state of affairs, where we are, what do we have in terms of debt. So it's not the budget per se. It is the report of the state of the economy, or the state of the state of the government's finances at the period ending May 2021. So that's not the budget. Now the question is, do we have the funding for the remainder of the budget? And that's where the questions will be asked. So this was not the budget. This is the pre-election report. So that's a different thing altogether. So the government's, we may still have the financing, but what the Prime Minister is saying is that the pre-election report was underreported. And that's what matters. He's not saying that the budget was underreported, but the pre-election report. And I think that's a good distinction as well. So that now the next question is, do we have sufficient funds to fund whatever this billion is? I mean, apparently, we can talk about that also because there's more to come, right? There's more to it. The Prime Minister was definitely on a roll, I would say. So then we go on to what is the next item in of discussion here. So the Prime Minister brings up another point, right? And I thought, and then CA, I would say that one of the main things that we expected and which we will continue to get out of this whole process is whether or not the information is valuable, right? Mm-hmm. Is the information valuable, or is it, slapping up, or it's just throwing jabs if the information is valuable? I thought this information was somewhat meaty, right? So now the Prime Minister continues on with his bits of shade, right? But before that, he goes, the Fiscal Responsibility Act requires the pre-election report to be signed by both the Minister of Finance and the Financial Secretary. And that's before this. Let me remove that. I will leave it to the Bahamian people to judge whether $1 billion difference between the report and the reality reflected an honest and true commitment to fiscal transparency. So I thought that was his other little, little jab there. Yeah.
I enjoyed that. I smiled.
I thought it was a reasonable jab. So he goes on. Government must always be prudent and judicious in its borrowing and ensure Bahamian interests are protected first and foremost. I am afraid to report that I like that line. I am afraid to report that the previous administration did not take this obligation as seriously as was necessary. One only has to look at some of the recent examples of government borrowing. He said, I'm afraid to report. You know, he ain't afraid to report that. Kind of like, it's sad, but I'm sure he's like, I told you so. I kind of told you so. So then he goes on to this. Are you ready? Remember the IMF rapid financing?
Yes.
Remember when we were talking about, we're so concerned. What is going on with the IMF? I don't like the IMF, blah, blah, blah. And, did we do this thing?
There was a national debate on what type of financing was it?
What type?
Or whatever it is.
And so there was that concern, right? And it was warranted. And so apparently now we had reason to be concerned. And you ready for this one, CA?
Go ahead.
Lord of mercy. This is where okay. All right, let me read all of it. While the Bahamas and the Bahamian people are grateful for the support of the IMF in making financing available to us, in such a difficult period, the management of this financing by the former administration was seriously deficient. Indeed, in August 2021, the public learned from the Auditor General himself that a key condition of the IMF facility was to disclose publicly who received contracts from the borrowed funds. Yet the former administration completely ignored that requirement, and as it left office, had still failed to provide the necessary disclosure. And this is when I hit the big wowza, right? I have now been advised by the officials within the Ministry of Finance that this loan was entered into without a legal opinion to confirm whether the government could comply with the terms. And there was no provision made on an ex post basis to comply with the terms of the financing.
So I have no idea what that means, right?
We didn't get no legal advice. Can we comply?
That's subjective.
I think that you...
all that's subjective, right? That's his opinion that we didn't get legal advice. I'm sure...
That isn't his... He says, I have now been advised by the officials within the Ministry of Finance. I don't know. We need to say which officials. This is the new returning financial secretary. I've now been advised by the officials within the Ministry of Finance that this loan was entered into without a legal opinion to confirm whether the government could comply with the terms. I think all of that is very interesting, honestly. I think that's interesting. I would like to know where's the legal part in that discussion, right? In terms of, we have a contract, the binding terms of the contract. Can we actually legally agree to something if we are unable to comply? Is that what he's saying? Someone says he's grossly understating and omitting liabilities by such a material amount is bordering on super incompetence and dishonesty. But this to me, with the IMF, you can't do any deal with the IMF without legal work. And I'm trying to figure out.
It's subjective, Nahaja. I think that's opinionative in general. And
he's not stating an opinion. He said he's been advised.
Yeah,
this
but
is not an
I
opinion.
believe his advisement is still an opinion. And I believe his advisement is, I don't think we got the proper legal, advisement, right? I'm sure if you speak to the former Attorney General, he would have said, yes, his office did this and his office did that. And so we will wait and see.
But I'm just saying this. This is what the Prime Minister is saying as a statement of fact. I'm not saying that he's accurate. We're saying what he's saying is this isn't. We only could go by this, and I'm anticipating that the opposition and I did ask Mr. Johnson if he could come on. Unfortunately, he's unable to, so he can't defend himself. And so that is something that we wanted to do and actually tried to get more answers from him with this. But what the Prime Minister is saying is that he has been advised by the officials within the Ministry of Finance. And the question is, who were the ministry? Were they the same staff that were advising Mr. Johnson? And then the question would be, did you advise him of such? Did we advise the Minister of Finance? Because there got to be some breakdown here. There has to be some breakdown here. And this is fascinating stuff, that we entered into a loan with the IMF without a legal opinion to confirm. All of that I need to understand. without a legal opinion to confirm.
Nahaja, I think you failed to understand what I meant. This morning, I was advised that it was going to rain. Did it rain, Nahaja? See, that's a loophole. I'm not saying it's going to rain, so you can blame me. That
advisement was not legal counsel. That's different. You're entering into a contractual agreement without legal counsel.
But he did not say his legal counsel advised him. He was advised by somebody that perhaps that did not happen.
No. You're not. Are you listening to what I'm reading?
I'm saying
I am not.
The good gentleman was advised. That's what I'm saying. We got to understand what advised means. It's a loophole. It's a loophole to say that I'm not taking the blame for it. But someone in the technocrats down there who will be nameless told me that this happened. Now, if it panned out that it did not happen, you said we can't blame me. That's what they tell me. They advise me on that. It's a loophole. That's why I said that whole verbiage is subjective.
All right, listen, someone says, I hope that there are new advisors, please. It says, I've been advised now by the officials within the Ministry of Finance that this loan was entered into without a legal opinion to confirm. My thing is legal opinion, meaning that there was no legal document. And if so, did we enter into an IMF agreement without legal counsel? So the contract was signed willy-nilly without a lawyer present, without our AG present? Like, what is that what we're saying? That's what I just don't get. Well, what are we saying here? Like, what are we saying with this? So Martha said it may have rained in some places, CA. It may have rained.
Yeah, Venezuela. I heard it rain in Venezuela today. Yeah.
All right. So I thought this was interesting because any agreement that we get into with the IMF, I'm assuming, and maybe that's just the fool, what they say about assumptions, but I would assume that one would get into any sort of legal. I can't buy anything without a contract nowadays, man. On the bottom of my receipt is a contract. Can bring back within 15 days. If you open it, there's a restocking fee, everything. I'm telling you, everything is a contract now. So the Prime Minister is saying, I have now been advised by the officials within the Ministry of Finance that this IMF rapid financing instrument, this loan was entered into without a legal opinion to confirm whether the government could comply with the terms. And I like that word, could comply with the terms. By the way, the government, as he stated before, did not comply. And what the Auditor General also said, we were not complying with the terms of the IMF. In terms of, listen, we need to know who the vendors are. We need to know who you're giving these contracts to. So all of this was under the Auditor General's report.
And this had another concept. What if it's illegal to give such information out in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, that we could not be able to comply to the rules of the IMF? Perhaps that's what he's saying.
Who's saying that?
The Prime Minister suggesting that we
listen
could not.
You go into the dark to reach. You go into.
I'm just trying to analyze what is it that the Prime Minister is actually saying, because it's ambiguous, it's subjective, and it's unclear. He could have just said,
you know what? It's ambiguous.
What it is.
It's definitely something to consider, but it is definitely one where we have to ask, could we comply with the terms? And that's a reasonable thought there, I must say. Someone say you're sounding very biased, CA. CA doesn't have a party. I gotta tell y'all, CA is really non-committal in politics. Just let it be known.
Don't let anybody know that, Nahaja. They
Sorry, I didn't mean to let the cat out of the bag. But there was something else. So he said, second, the financing provided by the $100 million World Bank Hospital loan. I even missed this one. The $100 million World Bank Hospital loan. Did you know there was a hospital loan? I missed the hospital loan.
No, I did not know.
I wasn't aware of the hospital loan. To expand our hospitals in Grand Bahama and New Providence was poorly planned and managed by our predecessors. As a result, the interest and fees associated with this loan were placed on the backs of the Bahamian public. Even though no architectural drawings had been completed. Sounds familiar. Oh, yeah. Now we're going with this again. Final costing had not been completed and no contract had been signed. This is my favorite line in this one. This is like borrowing for a mortgage, getting all of the money from the bank and putting it under your mattress while you dream about the type of house you want to build. So he's saying we're paying interest on a loan, but no hospital has been expanded. So that's one where he talks about we're not fiscally prudent, right? So that's one point there. And then he says, third, the rate reduction bond for Bahamas Power and Light. This long-awaited offering promised a minimal increase in electricity costs to consumers to allow for improvements to BPL facilities, which in turn would reduce electricity costs rates over the longer term. I'm advised that, and see, the Prime Minister is getting advised, the Minister of Finance, Cecil, the Minister of Finance is being advised that due to the delays in the offering, issuing the bond would now increase electricity costs by as much as 20%. Now, this is what we knew. We knew that there was a prime time to issue this bond. We knew that a long time ago. We knew that there was a prime season. We knew that every time we delayed, we would be going into a higher rate. And of course, now with junk bond status, the cost to borrow would be higher, the rate reduction bond. What he's saying now is that it would have increased our electricity costs by 20% if we did this rate reduction bond now with BPL. He said so, and he goes on to say, at a time when many Bahamians have little or no financial recourse, a 20% increase in the cost of a basic necessity such as electricity simply cannot be justified. He said to add insult to injury, the costs associated with the floundering attempt to obtain the bond, I am advised, is far in the excess of $20 million. So now the Prime Minister is saying, as the Minister of Finance, that he was advised that it costs us $20 million in messing around, trying to be prepared for a rate reduction bond. And I gather for the time it took, the starting, the stopping, the in and the out, and he's saying that has cost us in an excess of $20 million. I look forward to seeing all of this in a budget. Your thoughts on those?
I know all of this was debated in the House of Assembly, right? Number of these loans everyone should have known about. It was tabled, right? Mm-hmm. So to speak on it as if they were unaware, I find a little uneasy. But I mean, these things happen. In terms of Bahamas Power and Light, the debate should be about moving away from this bonkers and how we generate electricity in general, and how we have to pay a middleman in terms of bringing in the oil to power the Bahamas. And it just seems as if we are trying to protect these middlemen in general, because nobody is talking about alternative energy, where to get alternative source from, and that's why I find unbelievable that we're still talking about the same debate, and as if they have persons within the party they're trying to all protect to make sure the money stays to them, and that's the conversation need to be about.
Later in his speech, he touches on renewable energy. So we'll see. There's some things that was actually impressive that it was actually in there, but we'll figure out, because we saw already BPL saying that you can't have solar in New Providence, right? That you can only have solar on the Family Islands, where the most money is made in New Providence. Someone says,
somebody.
Let's not omit the other positive aspects of the PM's inaugural budget remarks, particularly as it relates to the sundry monetary amounts foreshadowed to the working class of the country. We won't. We're going to get to all of that.
They throw shade at you, Nahaja. They suggest that you're not going to cover it. That's what they're suggesting. We go in line by line, but already they throw the shade.
They're eager. That's all right. That's all right. They're all right. That's eagerness. I thought we voted for a transparent F&M government. All lies. Man, y'all ain't easy. So wow, CA just walked right past the $20 million waste. He did. CA did walk right past the $20 million waste.
No, see, because I'm not familiar with it. So it's hard to speak on something that I completely cannot understand, right? There might have been a $20 million waste in terms of how long it take to sign the deal and make the deal. And that is for the F&M to explain. And if it is a $20 million waste, it cries shame.
Well, listen, you know what? I used to say the numbers don't lie, right? But $1 billion, boy, you could lie by omission if that's correct.
$1 billion.
If we can literally lose $1 billion in our reporting, right? And I tell you, That's
like
some serious money.
like Marlon Johnson say, he can't explain that. That doesn't make sense to him. So he will, I'm sure, as a professional, he will come and defend his reputation, because it is definitely an attack on his reputation that he is not competent in his job. And we know that he's competent. We know that he's competent, and he does do work and dot all I's.
Well, I would say that he's definitely a competent individual. There are some economists who argue that they didn't understand how Mr. Johnson got to some of the numbers he got to. Now, what I don't believe is that Marlon would, is somehow, would fudge the numbers. Yeah, $1 billion. Come on, maybe you could, maybe a 10 million, I'd say.
I would go up to 100 million. You could miss.
Maybe 100 million, you'd be like, But $1 billion, you're like.
They suggested Marlon miss $1 billion worth of expenses. That's something he needs to respond to. He needs to make some phone calls.
He definitely needs.
And say, Wilson, what formula you use? This is the formula I use here.
Someone say, competent my foot. Yeah, I gotta be nice. My whole thing is, though, that demands a response. It isn't something where we can say they should respond. It demands a response, and it demands an external audit that is impartial, that has no politics involved, but and we need to get to an understanding. They said $100 million difference in liabilities, not $100 billion missing out of the treasury. They're saying it's a difference in reporting of the liabilities, right? So it isn't $100 billion that is disappeared. It ain't like where the VAT money gone, you found it in the treasury. What they're saying is the reporting in the pre-election report, there was $1 billion difference in what should be considered the liabilities of the government. So the government was underreporting. It wasn't as bad as we thought, right? And then you get in there, whoop, there it is. You all owe an extra $1 billion. What a time! What a time! We're gonna take a break. CA. You're listening to the. Someone say he forgot to carry the one. Oh, the shade. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We will be back right after this.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
We're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Hope that everybody's doing well, taking care of yourself, living your best life. My good friend C.A. Nuri is joining me today. We're going through the Prime Minister's speech today, his first address as the new Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, the Progressive Liberal Party, as now their first leadership role in the House of Assembly. And so a lot of interesting stuff said, right? And I'm getting a lot of stuff. Well, you know what? Of course, we know $1 billion is crazy money, right? It's like crazy money. You can't, I need to see all of the write-up on what this $1 billion is and where it gone missing. Like I said, 100 million, I could have gone, that's reasonable. But $1 billion, that's a stretch.
And like I said, Nahaja, at the end of it, you'll find this accountancy thing where they put the numbers here and didn't put the numbers there, but all the money and all of the information is actually included. But then we have to wait and see. Because $1 billion is too much to just excuse as saying they left out.
Yeah, no, $1 billion, Cecil? That's just funny to say. It's just funny to say $1 billion difference.
And to flippantly say it. No. You got to explain that.
$1 billion is a lot of money. And you definitely need to know exactly, and the prime minister tried to explain it, but I only got based on what he shared, probably 200 million.
I got 150 by the numbers you shared, but 200 million, I could go with that.
Well, you never know. I was just giving room, but we missing 800 million from that billion. But
that's a lot of money to miss. You can't be missing that. You got to find out where he's saying it is. Because he was giving an example, right? He purposely gave an example. One would assume that he would have gone up to at least about $500,000. You say $500 million and say, okay, I see it. You're getting there.
Yeah, I see it, right? Someone says, as usual, someone said, great show as usual, Nahaja. I'm going to the ATM to see if they missed and put the $1 billion on my savings account. If they did, I would be texting the show, not in Nassau. Don't do it. They still go find you. So I just would, of course, for me, that's a big number. That's a big number to state. Someone says previous government presented books to their favor. This government will present books to their favor off to set us up to borrow further. Yeah, we see this all the time, right? So it is what it is, right? We see that the cupboard was bare the last crew, and now it's $100 million, $1 billion difference. The pre-election report accounting, though, the pre-election report. So I think that's interesting.
And also we may have to discuss what exactly is a pre-election report. It's not like as if it is the budget. The budget, the then opposition, the now government signed off and said, man, that's cool. This is a good report. Or we're comfortable with the budget itself. So this pre-election report is something that the FNM promised that they're going to do, right? They say, I'm going to throw you something else to prove that they are transparent. So this is their first stab at it, right? Then they put up the report, and the PRB saying that, hey, you all understate the expenses of what we owe. And I say, cool with that. What are the expenses they understate? And they have yet to prove their case to say that's what it is. Then
what he said, what the prime minister said is that he will table all of that information.
Yeah, and it'll be good because we need to expose these people and be able to have better conversations, right?
Yeah,
learned conversations with adequate information, right? And then I'm thinking, and I remember I started off with the IMF and trying to analyze what the prime minister said, whether we could have complied with the IMF's commitment.
With their request for beneficial owners.
And I'm thinking, and like I said, I heard what he said and tried to analyze it. I know that we are allowed to give the names of the companies. Apparently, all of that was listed. However, we are not allowed to give the names of who own the companies. Right?
We can give the names of the companies, but not who own it.
Who own it. And I see that Auditor General said, man, I want the names. Right? And we know that you can't get the names without a court order.
And well, then that means
that's a debate right there.
Well, not a debate then, I guess. It means that we did not have legal advice. But someone says here, a former representative says, want to bet that the prime minister will have to walk that back? The IMF statement, he may have to eat those words. Note the legal language that was used. He did leave himself some wiggle room so as not to be pinned down. But I can tell you for a fact that is not accurate.
You talk about that advised word again, right?
Yeah, that advised word.
I'm going to use that. Like I said, I was advised it was going to rain today.
We shall see. We shall see. So I thought the prime minister came out of the gate, throwing these, that $1 billion stopped the whole show for me.
Yes, that was beautifully done. It was a good job. It was a 1-2 job, and it deserves response. It deserves a response.
No, I need to. I won't lie to you though. I need to see more. You can't just throw that big number there, leave it for me to think
that is enough for the newspapers them to run wild for a bit.
No, newspapers could do the same thing and ask the question. Well, what? Show me something. You know?
When is your friend giving the next press statement? That'll be the next couple of months, eh?
Who's my friend? Which friend?
That friend who used to go on his show.
Oh,
your
you
friend.
mean the new press secretary, Mr. Watson?
You know, I don't call names because he never invited me on his show at all. But I see.
Well, no, you was never going to get that in.
I'm not here.
We digress. We digress. All right, something else that the Prime Minister said, for every person currently receiving $100 per week from the COVID Unemployment Assistance Program, we will provide a $500 lump sum payment this Christmas.
Look at God.
All right.
Look at God, eh?
All right.
Now, mind you, I don't know if we can borrow this $500 either, because 500 times 17,000 people is how much that is, Nahaja? You have a calculator?
I didn't use but my calculator ain't here. I'm trying to find it in this thing here to make sure I have it ready.
I might be able to 17,000.
You go find that. Find it for me, please, because I need that.
You know, add one, carry to zero.
Carry it all. Make sure carry to zero now. Don't get yourself no problems and miss the zero.
Equals.
Someone say, I see why Min is crying. Y'all need to stop.
That's only $8 million, Nahaja. We could afford that. 8,500,000.
Oh, small money.
That's small money. It's not like $1 billion. You know? And $100 is not much money, and that $500 will come right in time for Christmas for them to spend.
Yeah, and listen, man, I'm not one in need of it, so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, you know, don't do it. I'm not going to sit here and be that person. There are folks who need
for a while, for years now. It ain't much you can do with that.
It isn't much. It isn't much. $8 million to those who have been struggling to stretch $100 a week. That's not, for me, that's not a big deal. $8 million, spend it on the people. That's what you do, is you spend it on the people. Now, that is a one-time thing. We still have to deal with the real issues of unemployment, et cetera. So that can only be on a, for just to help with a need. So I'm okay with that. I have no problem with that. I thought it was a good initiative.
It's just a week paycheck. What's a week paycheck?
Yeah, for a lot of people, that's a lot more than a week, though. I'll tell you that. It's pretty strong. It's a pretty good motivator. And I will say this, it does help with the, someone says, after the $500, the program finished. We shall see. So they also talked about some interesting things too, right? Domestic liquidity, asking why, saying that the former administration wasn't prudent. Why did they borrow so much from foreign reserves when we had such a liquid economy? So, talking about, we had that before, and I don't want to repeat that. Saying, okay, well, with all of this, in August 2021, he says, monthly economic and financial development reports, the Central Bank of the Bahamas reported liquid assets in the domestic banking system of over $2.4 billion, one of the highest levels of liquidity experienced in recent times. Despite billions of Bahamian dollars sitting in banks, the former administration opted to borrow approximately $2 billion, or 64% of all government borrowings in foreign currency loans over the recent fiscal year. Unfortunately, with visibly poor fiscal management, confidence in the Bahamian government weakened in international markets, and our government bonds are trading at distressed levels. And so his thing is, why do we borrow internationally? Why do we borrow? And it's a reasonable question. And I would like to know that answer.
What did we borrow for, Nahaja?
Well, I think that the reason they borrowed was to keep the reserves up.
And that was a bad thing.
But that's me. That's me saying that I think that that's the reason why they borrowed, right?
And that's why we borrowed U.S. dollars to put in the reserves.
Right, to say that we were healthy. So then that's it, right? So, but we need to borrow $2 billion? Maybe perhaps because we're still a very, trading or importing nation, you need to keep borrowing for such. And so borrowing in domestic currency was not the option. But I would like to, and I hope to, I would like real answers from the former administration on these point by point.
Yes.
Right? But again, it isn't even their responsibility. Honestly, this is this government's responsibility to govern in spite of. So I would love to hear the responses of the former administration on these things. But I think at the same time, most people are like, let's move forward. Let's just move forward, move forward so that we can know what all of this means. All right, but I do like the lump sum. And I think for those persons who are on it, this is something that is a real benefit to them. I think it will help the base or those persons. It helps to solidify the mantra of the Progressive Liberal Party, that it is a new day, the Davis administration, the prime minister says that he is for the people, and this is a good sign. I got some different responses as well. Well, why can't all of us get $500?
I could do with an extra $500 now.
I don't think we can do with an extra. I don't need an extra $500. I mean, do you need an extra
$500?
Do you need an extra $500? I could use it.
I need an extra $500. Yes, I do need it.
I could use it.
No. I could spend that. I have a car coming in.
$500? I can spend that.
I need to clear that car I have important. So all the monies need to come.
Listen, I would say this: you better be ready for that shipping concern.
I know. Who knew the 60%? I didn't know.
Oh, something else that was big news. I needed two. Someone said I needed two. Boy, I think listen, I could use that. I won't lie to you. Another big announcement. Our gratitude will be reflected by an increase in public service pensions. A sliding scale will be used to make sure the increase correlates with the need. We will increase public service pension payments effective the 1st of December 2021.
Look at God. Look at God.
All right.
Kudos to the government. Kudos to Philip Davis for that. That is good. My stepfather on pension, and that money don't stretch far. So I appreciate it. Almost 50 years of service working for the government. So I believe that any extra money for him is good.
Yeah. Well, I know my mom sitting there and said, well, hold on, I was in public service, but I am on pension. And I could use that extra couple of dollars because my pension.
Die for her. She need to get that money from someplace else.
And he need to figure that out because that vote next time he can be there. That's what it is. I really got more messages on the side as well. But what about all the rest of us? Right? But I want to read what he said here. He said quite a bit of things. I will say he said quite a bit of things, and I want to make sure I get it right because I sat there and I was like, well, this is interesting. Right? I thought it was very interesting. Let me make sure I have this right here, though, because I thought to myself, he's hitting on some notes, and these notes would be interesting to keep in mind when it's time, because he talked about debt financing, and that was a whole other section. I want to make sure I have it. Okay, I missed it. Where is it, Cecil? Oh, yeah. Increments. Okay, so an annual cost of this adjustment, when we go on to this, we will increase public service pension payments effective the 1st of December 2021 as follows. For the 742 persons receiving less than $500 per month in monthly pension, they will receive an increase of $100. All right? So let's go to that again. For the 742 persons receiving less than $500 per month, and he goes on to say who these persons are: retired teachers, nurses, doctors, police officers, corrections officers, and retired clerical and administrative staff, right? For 742 persons receiving less than $500 a month. Do you receive less than $500 a month in pension?
You started working that out and how much that is per week. How do people survive with that type of money?
And it's only increasing by $100. My God.
So going to $600.
Okay. And for the 2012 persons receiving more than $500 but less than $1,000 in monthly pension, they will receive a monthly increase of $75. And for the 4,432 persons receiving a monthly pension of greater than $1,000, they will receive a monthly adjustment of $50. Then he goes on to say the annual cost of this adjustment is $6.4 million. Then we go to the level of shade, right? Which is less than the amount owed in business license fees by one developer in New Providence who received assistance of the former administration to avoid paying what was legally owed to the government. Look at that.
I wonder who that developer is.
I would like to know too. I really would like to know, right? The previous government chose to help one, and he goes on to say this again. The previous government chose to help one wealthy developer.
Wealthy.
We choose instead to help thousands of Bahamians who have served our country well, Bahamians who deserve economic dignity in their senior years. All right. Then he goes on to talk about increments. Increments which are paid to rank and file public officers will also be reinstated this fiscal year. Well, we got some change here. The increments, which are nominal adjustments in earnings for the majority of public officers of no more than $700 per year, were withheld by the previous government, even as lavish public contracts were awarded to family members of cabinet ministers. This inequity is now being addressed. The effective date for the increment reinstatement is July 2021, and the payment date is January 2022. This reinstatement, which will cost $8 million this year, is being funded from the increase in revenue over forecast experienced in the first quarter of this fiscal year.
Wait. We forget that we had a decline. We just catch it back. We didn't have no increase. The money that is increasing now is for us to catch back up. We've been in debt for a while.
What you say? What is this? They say the emergency fund. The emergency fund. I guess we have. Maybe we got the emergency fund.
The increase. I just said the reasoning is kind of off. It's not from monies we didn't anticipate. We were broke. That's back pay. We got to catch up on some bills.
I like that it's back pay. I will tell you something. Yeah, the prime minister is working early to make sure he gets reelected.
Yes,
I'll tell you that.
That's good.
Now let's hope all of the numbers work out so we can get out of this economic doldrum, right? Arrears will be paid once additional savings have been identified. So we get the increments, but arrears will be paid. One of the most discussed and anticipated aspects, and so now we move on to the next one, right? Which of course is VAT, right? So VAT was the next one. And let's see. I am pleased to announce that we are moving forward with this reduction in the VAT rate, moving the VAT rate from 12 to 10%. I believe that it will help Bahamians in our economy, and the reduction is being managed in a way that is fiscally responsible. So now, what are some of the challenges here with this is that, and I'm going to go down, and I want to read some parts of this CA, because what is being argued or what is being said by the opposition is watch, look, right? Look, because what is seemingly being missed is, okay, we're taking the duty-free off of medicine, we're taking the duty-free off of breadbasket items. So are we in essence, raising it in certain areas to bring us to a level? So when you take off the duty-free, we're paying VAT now back on these other things. Is it really a sleight of hand? And so that's a reasonable question. And I was trying to read this all out before I left, so I'm going to read it on air with all of us, right? So let's read this together. The Ministry of Finance team has worked long hours along with some of the brightest minds at the University of the Bahamas and the Government and Public Policy Institute, as well as with international consultants, to perform extensive modeling and financial analysis to ensure that the VAT reduction does not adversely affect our fiscal position. With the reduction in the VAT rate, we are eliminating the zero rating under VAT on a variety of items. Price controls are in place to ensure breadbasket items will be fairly priced. So the zero rated items, right? They're eliminating it off of breadbasket items. So of course they were VAT free, right? They were breadbasket items at that point. He's saying price controls are in place to ensure breadbasket items will be fairly priced. Now, here's my only concern. Nothing ever stayed fairly priced in this country. As soon as one thing shifts, prices go up, and we wonder what is the function of price control. Because by the way, I ain't gonna bring that up. I could get price control on the show because I still be getting in my own sort of issue when one item say $2.25, and then I go to the counter and they say, no, ma'am, that's $4.16. And I say, but sweet girl, this is what the price say on here. Then they send a packing boy through the aisle. Well, everything else was labeled right, so must be you do this. So now you calling me a thief. Now you calling me a thief. That's a whole other show, Cecil.
Nahaja, I'm not sure if you understand what they're saying. They now put VAT on corned beef.
Yeah, but they can start marching. People start marching now for their corned beef.
Corned beef was VAT free. Now VAT on corned beef. I little concerned.
Corned beef.
A little concerned.
All right. So that's what it's saying, right? We're going to put the breadbasket items 10%, right? Price controls are in place to ensure those items will be fairly priced. The VAT exemption for electricity bills and the special economic zones are untouched. All right, so they're still exempt. Right?
Good.
Madam Speaker, when VAT was first introduced in the Bahamas in January 2015, it was designed as a broad-based tax. The implementation of VAT in the Bahamas was efficient, and we were praised. Indeed, through the actions of the previous administration, the VAT base has been eroded by the implementation of many classes and types of items zero rated. These changes were considered by experts to be ill-advised and poorly executed, who believe zero rating schemes are ineffective and inefficient, and an inefficient way to provide relief to the vulnerable in society. Instead, there's a preference for targeted relief, such as conditional cash transfer programs. My government is committed to increasing direct cash transfers to families who need the support with the reintroduction of the RISE program, about which you will hear in more detail. So, based on the modeling and analysis conducted by my team, we are confident that the elimination of zero rating categories and the economic uplift to consumers, government revenues are protected. The model and the analysis of the results will be published on the government's budget website. I requested that the modeling with respect to the 2018 increase in VAT also be published, but I have been advised that it is conveniently no longer available. Okay, I don't know. All right, so your thoughts on it? I like the fact that they kept their promise. Yeah.
Yes, and that is important, and any good political party needs to keep their political promise and keep it early. And we see this is what the PLP administration is doing. A number of these things were said during the campaign, and unlike the FNM, where people was begging for some of the political promises to be kept. Mm-hmm. I see that this administration makes sure put it in the front of everything, and given deadlines and when it's going to be implemented. So definitely, these are low-hanging fruits that they're taking advantage of, and one must commend them for it.
Yeah. I think it's really good. Let them. This is the promises that these are the promises that they made, and they're living up to it. And I think, listen, the other administration may have been in if they'd kept some of their promises as well. And there's a lot more. We'll take a quick break, but there's a lot more too. A lot more promises that were made by the Prime Minister in the House of Assembly. So far, so far so good. There's just some questionable commentary. Of course, the $1 billion. I still need to get some data on that. I need more data on that $1 billion though. We'll take a quick break. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We'll be back right after this.
Sugar, sugar, let's get sugary. Softer, smoother, and amazing skin. Oh, sugar, sugar, we're the sugar ladies, giving you skin soft as a baby's. Goodbye hair, we'll take good care of you.
Come visit us at Bahar Retreat Spa on East Bay Street. Contact us at 323-6711 or visit us online at www.baharretreat.com.
Hurricane season is here. If you're not prepared, it can really turn your life upside down. Fortunately, there's CG Atlantic General. Our people are here ready to assist at a moment's notice, with protection like alternative accommodation for those who are displaced due to a storm. It's our priority to make sure you have what you need when you need it most. So when your life gets turned upside down, we can help to turn it around. CG Atlantic General. Good like that. Security and General Insurance Company Limited, trading as CG Atlantic General. Contact a CG Atlantic General broker today.
You have a new text message from Scotia.
Scotiabank is adding text messaging to its communication channels to keep customers updated in quicker and safer ways. As of November 4th, Scotiabank will be using text messaging to provide notifications on the minimum payment required for your credit card and due dates. Customers may continue to access their credit card statements on Scotia Online or through our mobile banking app. Learn more by contacting customer care-Bahamas at scotiabank.com or call 356-1697.
We are working to protect our country, our people, and our livelihoods so that we can move forward. The vaccine is safe. The vaccine is easy. The vaccine is essential for our recovery. If we want to rebuild our economy, if we want to get back to our jobs, if we want to get back to our lives, our families, we must do this together.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
We're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. My good friend C.A. Nuri joining me today. The Prime Minister did his speech today, C.A. Nuri. VAT has been reduced from 12% to 10%. As promised. What is it? How do they say it? Promise made, promise kept. That's what they say.
So said, so done.
That's the one.
I got all the cliches.
Man, that's the one.
Yeah.
We'll see the ramifications of such, but don't watch nothing. Don't watch nothing. Promise kept. I like that he kept his promise.
Yes,
Plus,
that is important to me.
this lump sum of $500, the Prime Minister is feeling the pain of those who were getting $100. Now, of course, the longer talk of where the economy is going, I'm still waiting for that. I still don't understand now how come, first, I would have loved to hear from Halkitis, Mr. Halkitis, Economic Advisory, Ministry of Economic Affairs. I would have loved that. That's where we're going. The Minister of Investments and Tourism stood up to say, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that the status quo will be kept with regard to vaccine, vaccinated persons traveling through cruises, right? That was the status quo there. But really the fiscal trajectory, the Minister of Health spoke also. I wasn't blown away at all. I honestly, no, that wasn't it for me. No Minister of Health, but he did say, what did the minister, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about
how I feel about that whole ministry at this present time. So
yeah, no, I know you're feeling strong there.
Yes. Disappointed.
Disappointed. I keep on telling you, boy, manage your expectations, yeah?
Yeah.
You only can be disappointed if your expectations are high.
It wasn't high. That's that thing. I just expected something. It ain't working out.
My expectations
deal with this Ministry of Health. I'm not happy at all.
Public service pensioners, our gratitude will be reflected by an increase in the public service pensions. So that will be happening effective December the 1st. So public service pensioners on a sliding scale, and the Prime Minister emphasized based on need. Now, some other things, and I wanted to get to some of these other promises really quickly as we're running out of time. Promises, and I labeled this section in his speech, right? This is page 11 of the Prime Minister's speech. Promises. So he says, Madam Speaker, the government will implement our blueprint for change and grow the Bahamian economy at a more rapid rate than described in current growth projections.
Good for him.
Let me tell you how. I like stuff like that. I like that. That excites me. Let's talk about how. Right? So it says, we will increase the level of public investment through a combination of direct government expenditure and public-private partnership.
Not sure what that means.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
We will create a sovereign wealth fund to monetize the concessionary access to Crown land and seabed leases already provided to foreign investors. I like that. But now, mind you, the sovereign wealth fund has been created, right? It's been created. The last administration, the Christie administration created it. The problem with many who look at sovereign wealth funds across the world, right, is that we don't like this idea of the money going into the consolidated fund. We want the sovereign wealth fund to be a separate entity. Yeah. It can even be quasi-government, but managed like a corporation with true transparency, right? And that's a whole other kettle of fish, because what is transparency in government with anything that's quasi-government? But we digress. So I like what they're talking about, though. Dr. Gilbert Morris has spoken on this on many occasions. We can actually quantify, bring value to our Crown land, to our seabed leases. C. Alan Johnson has spoken of this at length. This is not something new, but I like that we are actually doing this. This will help to monetize and get some of those concessionary that access.
The part I found interesting in that phrasing was that what already foreign investors are taking advantage of. I think that's the phrase you used.
Yeah.
That does that mean that we will tax them again for what they take out?
It means that instead of the funds going to X, it'll now go here. So now those, I'm thinking, that's what I'm thinking. We don't know. Honestly, we don't know.
So that needs to be explained then.
That needs to be explained. Because I would think then what you're saying is what already exists and anything that is now forthcoming.
Yes.
That now that will be put in. But any funds coming from Crown land and seabed leases should go into this sovereign wealth fund.
And I thought the issue is that we're going to increase the amount of money, the rate that we charge for extracting aragonite. I'm just using aragonite as an example. So that was the issue. It doesn't seem as if we're going to increase it. We're just going to see, I gone blank there. I'm not sure exactly what it means.
Yeah.
I'm just using, again, aragonite for the example. What exactly are they going to use the aragonite fees or tax for in order to finance the sovereign wealth fund?
Well, right now, we know that it's $2.50 per metric ton.
Okay.
So
no talk with increase. There was no talk with increase.
No talk of increase. Only what exists right now going in, supposedly, when it says to monetize the concessionary access to Crown land and seabed leases. So technically, that needs more explaining to do. But from what I'm thinking, and I'm definitely wrong, don't let me know add anything. This needs to be explained.
Okay.
And I would hope that the Minister of Natural Resources would be best, Minister Vaughan Miller, to help to answer that. The Minister of Finance would be best to answer that. Maybe it
sounds pretty though.
It sounds great.
Yeah, it does.
My next promise: we will create a national wealth fund. So we got funds galore. Yeah, funds galore to hold the government's equity in various commercial enterprises. And I gather commercial enterprises not being state owned because I don't know what equity we own. So maybe it's BTC's equity, Cable Bahamas equity. The book value of the government's various equity investments exceed $1 billion, but the annual return is currently less than 1%. This is clearly not acceptable. Small man don't know what that means.
No. I assume that we have the money inside some bank account. And I'm assuming that he's saying that we're going to invest the money instead of having it in the bank account?
And perhaps, and I would think that that's probably what it is, that you create a wealth fund. And the question is then the management of that fund is done by whom to determine where these assets go. I wonder to which extent, even with this national wealth fund, are we talking about repaying all of the debts owed to national insurance? Because Mortgage Corp, the number one financier of Mortgage Corp is NIB. They need to fix that. So when we gonna start making sure all of the taxpayers' money that goes into NIB actually gets refunded to NIB? So will these wealth funds, when they make their returns, will we be paying back national insurance? That's a whole other. Nobody talks about that.
Slush fund alone, Nahaja.
Nobody talks about that. Now this one is what cracked me up, right? This one tickled me. We will make the Bahamas 5G ready through the establishment of a national fiber network. Now, I heard all kinds of things. The first thing I heard was, that's why they're giving us the vaccine.
There you go.
5G.
It finally come about. The revelation. The revelation.
Bill Gates was here. Y'all know.
He was the one who brought that 5G. That's why we sick.
That's why they insist we take this vaccine. Now it's...
The PLP and the cahoots with the F&M to bring 5G.
The one world order is coming. Vaccine and 5G.
Next, they'll say the majority of us need to take the vaccine for the 5G.
No. They'd never say that. That's a conspiracy. You cannot say that. You just... Why? Why do we need 5G? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, I would like to know what, without world-class communications infrastructure, the company's growth potential is stunted. Okay, I could go with that. All right, so we're bringing, so watch this. I can go with that if what their angle is, we just got a Bitcoin company, right, headquartered here in Grand Bahama. More fintech companies coming in and they're demanding 5G. I think they would be demanding a reduction in the cost of energy. So we should be moving from the cost from all of these fossil fuels. But I don't know. We don't even maximize 4G.
Nahaja, who provides the technology in the Bahamas? The government or these private companies? I'm just saying.
Private companies.
But no, government just said he's going to spearhead it. But see, I'm not going to even row about that. I'm just saying, usually, Bahamas, BTC, etc., they pursue 5G. Now to have the government announcing that they too are pursuing 5G, I would like to know, like, what entity, which entity of theirs going to be pursuing this 5G technology?
Are
they talking about BTC?
Well, BTC.
And Bahamas.
I've had Mr. Foster on the show before, and we've had this discussion on the need for 5G.
That's private companies do. I wouldn't know what the government doing.
Miss Bartlett says my phone is still saying 3G.
You need to update your phone. Get an iPhone.
Roma doesn't need to update. But my thing is, at this point, we're not even maximizing the full potential of 4G. So if we're not close at maximizing the potential of 4G, should we wait to talk about 5G, right? And this is where I need my good friend C. Allen to tell me. Is there a need for it right now? I don't see the need for it. And it says, without world-class communications infrastructure, the country's growth potential is stunted. Really? But we've not maximized 4G. We've not maximized 4G with data centers.
Plus that we're the most connected country in the Caribbean in terms of the internet, you know.
And they still love us for our consumerism, right? That we still give BTC, its parent company loves us to pieces, right? We still give the most money. Our dollar is par to the US. And I agree with him, we should have never sold BTC to begin with. So I'm curious as to this 5G, like where is this in the blueprint for change's vision of, right? We have not come close to maximizing 4G. I don't know if that's the necessary place for
have connectivity in the city, free internet. Talk about that.
We need that.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, but you don't need 5G for that. But that tickled me. I was like, where did that come from?
That's about 3 of those that tickling you, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's up to a few of them who just like, well, I don't know. Someone, the next one. I like this one. We will retain a greater share of foreign currency earnings by increasing the amount of renewable energy produced and consumed in the Bahamas and reducing fuel imports for power generation. I like that. I like that.
Yes.
I like that a lot. I feel like we should just have more silence on that one alone.
Yep, that was good. You can't complain for that.
No. Let's read it one more time. We will retain a greater share of foreign currency earnings by increasing the amount of renewable energy produced and consumed in the Bahamas and reducing fuel imports for power generation. I can't wait. I need you to tell me when, how, and all of that good stuff so I can really get excited.
And if you take off the first phrase, which was not important in that, right? The idea of just reducing fuel energy. I'd like to know what is the exact plan they have for that? Are we going to have some solar energy panels, right? What is the overarching plan to do that? And there was no detail on that. So this is what we plan to do by doing this. But, it is what it is.
No, but this government, okay, so there's something that I've been asking myself, okay, so I noticed that the Prime Minister has been doing a lot of talks with regard to COP26, right? So in terms of climate change, this event, us being green, his first speech at the UN, talking about climate change. So he's really on this. And in his statement, he went into deeper detail not deeper detail. I won't say that. Deeper detail means details. He explained a bit more of why this is so important in a fiscal strategy or fiscal idea, right? So I'll get to that, but I wanted to finish some of these promises.
Okay, before you start that, imagine making an announcement that we will solarize every government building to up to 30%. That would be something
an announcement.
See, that's tangible. I can understand that.
Yeah, no,
what you said before, I can't see it yet, but I mean, I'm just more analytical.
No, I agree. Because right now that's a statement. It isn't anything substantive. It's a
statement. That's a
mission statement. It's a statement. We will retain a greater share. Because this is a promise with nothing tangible to hold on to, nothing substantive.
No measure, not the measure.
Because then you could say, okay, well, will they? And I watched this one because, of course, BPL, one of the first things right after the new government came in, made a statement of saying, oh, well, we can't solarize New Providence.
So you're trying to say we ain't get solar, so that ain't gonna be solar then?
So New Providence ain't it. So I think, and because they said Family Islands are fine, and if you notice now, they finally put the batteries in Ragged Island, right? So we finally got they could actually tie into the grid, and the batteries are finally there for the solar panels after all of these years. So Ragged Islanders will finally be getting solar energy. So I think that's a long process there. Anyways, but we digress. So I'm curious to see what that means there, right? And again, he says, next one, we will increase the proportion of government expenditure allocated to small and medium businesses by amending the Procurement Act to protect local businesses against unfair competition.
SPDC. Unfair competition. I'm not sure what that means, but the last statement.
Big businesses perhaps getting more concessions versus smaller businesses. Big businesses.
Two different kettle of fish. Let's say imports. We know the companies would import everything, and the smaller companies buy from them.
Amending the Procurement Act to protect local businesses against unfair competition. Maybe you can buy more in mass. So I don't know. I think that's interesting too. We need the financial secretary. You think the new financial secretary, not a new, but returning financial. Returning financial.
We need to invite him. At least
we're going to invite Mr. Wilson because I think he would help to explain quite a bit of this. Yeah.
Yeah, and give some examples, not these broad statements that don't make any sense to me.
We will stimulate domestic demand by providing incentives for investment by the Bahamian diaspora in the second home market in the Family Islands.
Don't we have incentives now? Or are we going to give more incentives than to the other people?
Stimulate demand. I don't know what that means.
That sounds like free land.
I don't mind that. Let's do this.
No, but no, it's not for local. They said for people who live in abroad. No.
Read
it again. Let's see who the target audience is.
Him in diaspora. Yes.
Abroad.
Abroad.
We're trying to get those people who live abroad who have money, Bahamians, to come back home and build a second home. And mind you, there is an incentive that exists now for anybody who want to build a second home. So we try to give them more incentive than what exists, which is cool. I always say pro-Bahamian, and I'm just like to know what type of more incentive could there be?
I would like to know.
Especially when I'm home now, waiting for some incentive for me to build an Airbnb. It's pricey.
I would really like it. I think we need to really figure out what the incentives are to like convert your house or if you want,
some incentive. I have an extra room.
I can put 90 million just for every Airbnbs. 90 million, say, okay, I got an extra room. I won't put on 3, I won't put another house in the back of the yard or whatever. Someone says every government says they will increase renewables, but the oil lobby are F&M and PLP peeps. So renewables for New Providence is out of the question. Trust me. I think we figured out that's always the thing, right? We will see to what extent they talk about renewable energy. All what was promised was we will retain a greater share of foreign currency earnings by increasing the amount of renewable energy produced and consumed in the Bahamas and reducing fuel imports for power generation. Well, that's a part of the Paris Agreement, right? Paris Accord Agreement, reducing renewables by 30%. We will stimulate domestic demand. Okay, so read that. These are only some of the steps we intend to take to increase growth in the medium term. Recognizing revenue growth alone is insufficient to address the current debt situation. All right, so that was a few things there. And I wanted to get to this last bit that I thought was very interesting. So the big takeaways. So far, big takeaways are 100, I keep saying 100 million, because that's a realistic number. $1 billion difference, $1 billion difference from what was reported in the pre-election report, not the budget. $1 billion difference, right? I'm having a moment. And that is something that we want to see more of, get a better understanding of. Also, with regard to the IMF rapid assistance, right, financing, that there was no legal, he was advised that the legal counsel, we went into that deal.
Subjective.
This is what the Prime Minister says, regardless if it's subjective or not, this is where the answers need to come in.
He was advised, yes, he was advised.
He was advised by officials within the Ministry of Finance.
That it may.
That the government entered into that deal without the council without legal counsel that would allow them or inform them if they could comply.
Even though there's legal counsel inside that ministry, but go ahead.
Listen, of course, everybody say, well, was the legal counsel Mr. Bethel?
That ain't a good thing.
Says, I have now been advised by the officials within the Ministry of Finance that this loan was entered into without a legal opinion to confirm whether the government could comply with the terms, and there was no provision made on an ex post basis to comply with the terms of the financing. So y'all didn't even say, man, look what they say. Why y'all don't leave Ms. Emmanuel alone? So then you have, of course, the big takeaways: VAT reduced from 12% to 10%.
Nice.
Bread basket items, of course, we are seeing that zero rating has been removed off of bread basket items. The government, I believe, thinks that they have a strategy based on what the Prime Minister says, that they have a fiscal strategy that is more amiable for all in this reduction from 12 to 10%, even if the VAT has been added back to the bread basket items. Boy, I know. We
just got to wait and see. I'm not going to complain about that. I'm just glad he kept his promise.
He kept his promise. Okay. Now, before we go, this is the part I thought was also interesting. This is what the Prime Minister says. As part of this effort to guide this nation back to fiscal stability, I am pleased to announce the formation of a private sector debt advisory committee to advise the Ministry of Finance on the nation's debt strategy. The committee will
ministry that does that now, but we can have now a subcommittee who will advise the ministry. We just need to give someone a job. Who can we bring back to be the chairman of that?
Let me finish. Tickle pink. The committee will be chaired by Mr. James Smith, the former minister of...
Yeah. I know we can bring back somebody. Somebody got to get back.
Former Minister of State for Finance, and will have representatives from domestic as well as international financial institutions based in the Bahamas. To assist the work of the committee, the government will engage an independent international debt advisory firm.
Yeah. That could have been a subcommittee in the Ministry of Finance, but that's okay. We can hire a new chairman and create a whole team. Put them in the office of the Prime Minister and say, man, y'all run that. Advise the advisors on that. I mean, I go with it, no. Everybody got to eat. And I just
No. Everybody got to eat.
Yes.
5 people who in need got to eat. Y'all tell me how this makes it. Help me.
I want a job there.
Help me. I'm just trying to figure out. Let me give you some context. Just context of where it came from too, because it just got weird. Right? This is after he goes through all of the different ways that the former government was imprudent with finances, right? And if all that the Prime Minister said is correct, they were not prudent.
Yes.
Yeah, they weren't prudent. If what he said is correct, they were not prudent. I get it. And he goes on, how very unfortunate for our country that the previous government failed to implement a financing mechanism that would have offered Bahamians real and significant reductions in electricity costs over the time. Madam Speaker, institutions and lenders to carry the message that the risk of default is non-existent, and this administration. Wait, hold on. Make sure I get in this right. Make sure I get in right now, Cecil, because I don't want to get it wrong. Madam Speaker. Oh, okay, right. I was getting it wrong. My government appreciates the gravity of our debt situation and is determined to restore our fiscal credibility and the confidence of international markets. Since assuming office, both the Minister of Economic Affairs and the Financial Secretary have been holding meetings with ratings agencies, financial institutions, and lenders to carry the message that the risk of default is non-existent, and this administration is ready to guide this nation back to fiscal stability. Madam Speaker, as part of that effort to guide this nation back to fiscal stability, I am pleased to announce the formation of a private sector debt advisory committee. See, all of that just threw me off. Is this a paid committee?
Of course it's a paid committee. What you mean, is this a paid committee? Look at you. I mean, if this is a paid committee.
This can't be a paid committee, man. This can't be.
What you mean it can't be?
And then, but then the committee needs assistance.
Yes, it needs a support team.
And the government will engage an independent international debt advisory firm. Now, that ain't free.
An entire firm.
That ain't free.
No.
One of the first and most urgent issues for the Debt Advisory Committee is to assist the Bahamas in tapping into greater levels of domestic and green financing.
Mm-hmm. Remember, we had a commission for that the other day, but that's okay. That's what the ERC was doing. Whatever they were.
I have to, let me finish this before it's time. Okay. This is okay. As I foreshadowed during my recent speech in the United Nations, this shift in policy will begin with the Bahamas attending the COP26 conference next week, where we will participate in discussions regarding financing opportunities for small island developing states. Countries such as ours bear almost no responsibility for climate change, but are uniquely vulnerable to its impacts. Climate adaptation and mitigation finance are mechanisms for allowing countries such as ours to transition to renewable energy and to build for resilience. In addition, carbon credits have the potential to bring in significant revenue. Those are very big points. Those two, because I've had carbon credits discussions on my show, mitigation finance and mechanisms, but we need a whole subcommittee. We need a private committee and as Ministry of Natural Resources.
Nahaja, right next to the stadium, I'm not sure if you see those panels with Get Energy, right where you go license your car.
Yeah.
We don't get no money from that either.
I gotta go in the sovereign wealth fund.
All that energy we get it from there, and we don't get no credit back from BPL. I've been watching these people, somebody help us for going, but that's okay. I digress. I appreciate the gesture. It's a gesture I appreciate that at least they mean well.
I think that they came out. I will say this: there are more positives than negatives, and quite a bit of question marks. I don't like question marks, but I got some question marks on some big ticket items. I got some question marks.
4 different question marks or the 6, but that's okay. I was keeping count how much question marks you had.
Some things I just don't get. This formation of a private sector debt. No, that don't make no sense.
I'm glad they're working. That's all. I'm glad. I'm all for it.
But you remember the
we gotta go. Need a job.
We gotta go. Love you, buddy. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. See you guys tomorrow. We're out.